for homecoming that I'm unaware of, but I'll check with our vendor. Ed,
Yeah, Chris.
Mimi and I are out.
I'm here. I'm in. Hi, John.
Andrew Kadasik.
Join the meeting.
How is everybody?
Good.
Good. Hold on one second. Looks like I'm trying to get people in here.
Hey, there's Joanne.
Okay, hello all, I'm here. I'm literally en route. I'm in a vehicle in Harrisburg.
In
Oh, you're
1,000,
dedicated.
the right lane to turn right on Elmerton Avenue.
Oh, that's a new one.
All right.
Turn right on Elmerton Avenue.
Hey, there's Marilyn.
Who said that?
Joe Murphy.
Joe Murphy, hello, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. And yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad.
I know.
And how's my Edward?
He didn't come on yet. Pop up yet.
There he is.
Oh, he just showed. He heard your voice.
You have a couple ads, Marilyn.
Yeah, yeah.
Where's Bill Cockrell?
He didn't pop on yet. Carlos. I couldn't figure out who that was. Carlos.
Yes.
I
Hello.
couldn't figure out who that was.
Ah,
Put your glasses on. I couldn't figure out what it was.
ah,
I've seen you since the interview.
yeah.
I hope things are going good.
Yep, everything's going good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Green, can't tell, yeah, but, camera. Put your camera on, Green.
Hey, everyone, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get Bill Cockrell in here. We're having some technical difficulties and we'll be able to start here in a little bit.
If not, start without me.
Marilyn,
What?
can you, Bill's having problems getting on. I'm on the cell phone with him right now because he changed computers. So is that possible that you can run? He's on the meeting here. Can you run the meeting?
I will try.
Okay, all right. Let's just make sure we have enough for the quorum for us. So I apologize. I'm going back and forth with, I got Billy here on the cell phone here on the computer, so he can hear everything that's going on, and I'll put my speaker right next to it so he can talk if he even needs to. Let's just make sure we have a quorum. Let's see who's on the call.
Says 27.
Yeah, we have 27 in. We should be good.
All right, we have a quorum. Marilyn, it's up to you.
Okay, good evening. I would like to start the meeting off with, I guess okay.
Calling the meeting to order.
Calling the meeting to order. Yes, Jimmy. There's something in front of me. The annual board training, Head Start, Joe Garvey of Barbetti and McHale, and I would like to have you, Joe, started.
Thank you. I'm not muted. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes, yes.
We've been through this several years together, most of us, I think, unless you have some new board members. I did try to switch around some of the slides that are in the PowerPoint. I'm not going to read it to you. I'm going to try and just hit on the highlights of the various slides so as not to take much of your evening. I know you have other important matters to go through. I noticed it seems to be coming up kind of skewed, but as I speak, I'll ask to change the pages for whoever at this point is controlling it. I know your board training is important to you, so I'll get started right on page 3. If we can go to that. I'm hoping that you all received a copy of it either by email or text so that you don't have to look at the screen to go through it. I will ask to change the slides as we move forward, but you can also follow along by looking at the copies you have in case they don't come up completely on the screen. When we're asked to be on a board and all of us.
No, I'm sorry, real quick. Not only does everybody have a copy, it's also on their board portal. So this is just reminding everybody it's a required training that we must do for CSBG. Okay. So everybody has it. You can go through it.
Thanks, Jim. And if you don't have a copy, please ask, and I'm sure one will be sent to you. I can get you a copy as well. When we're all asked to be on boards, myself included, and all of you, and most of us serve on more than one. And when we're first asked, we should display a willingness to accept that position, a willingness to serve in a capacity that benefits the organization and presents the board to the community in the best light possible. We serve for the betterment of the organization. We should have a genuine interest in the mission, what the organization does within the community, what its actions entail and so forth, and how that mission and how we serving will impact the community that we're serving. Once we're accepted as a board member, or once we accept the offer to become a board member, we should consider ourselves an advocate. We should work toward the betterment of the organizations we serve to support, and we strive for the betterment of that organization. We as members should be fully aware of the organization's mission that we're becoming involved with, and we should be able to clearly present that to the community at any time we're asked to. We should know what the mission does, why it does it, and how it impacts the community on a daily basis. We should take all responsibility to take reasonable steps to protect the assets of the entity that we serve. That's our fiduciary responsibility, and legally we're held to that standard. It's often a higher standard than in many other cases. We should be prudent. We should protect the assets, the operations, and present ourselves in that manner, in that fiduciary manner, the same as we would protect our own assets and livelihood. A mission statement is a must. The mission statement of the organization defines the organization's purpose. A director, employee, or a volunteer cannot fulfill their job well, cannot represent the organization well, cannot truly be an advocate for the organization without thoroughly understanding the mission of the organization. And that mission is spelled out in a mission statement. When the organization first is formed, either through a legal corporation or some other type of entity, a mission statement is prepared. It is a clear and concise document of what the entity's purpose is, what it is supposed to accomplish. It's not just financial, it's day-to-day operations, it's the purpose of the organization, it's what the organization stands for. It's a guide to the operations on page 8. It's a guide to the operations of the organization. Employees, members should thoroughly understand that statement. All new members of the board, and from time to time in with these trainings or shortly thereafter, should be given a copy of the mission statement. Most organizations, when a volunteer or a board member comes on board, is given a manual, if you will, that not only contains the mission statement that describes the purpose of the organization, what it intends to do, but also contains the bylaws and the various committees and so forth that are in there. This should be studied carefully, and many organizations require a new board member not only to receive it, but also to sign off that they've gone through it and read it. Whether they do or not is certainly up to them, but certainly a signature indicates that they know what the purpose of the organization is, what it stands for, what its mission is, and what its bylaws are. The bylaws of an organization are its key governing documents. They're adopted by the board or the organizing members or some other body. Usually it's the board or others or their members, other members, that come together. It can be a formal corporate legal structure, and it usually is. It can be subject to some variation and flexibility. It files articles in incorporation, name clearance applies. It files those articles in our case, with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of State. And then those bylaws, which are the key governing documents, are adopted by the board at that point, or the members, which are often the forming members. They can be amended, and often are from time to time, as new regulations come forth or brought forward, or new activities of an organization are going to be entered into. The bylaws will be amended to operate under those standards. There are limits to ownership in a not-for-profit. Yes, there's articles of incorporation or a charter or some other document. It is what the nonprofit entity can do with its earnings and its assets. The organizations, nonprofits, are usually exempt from tax under Revenue Code 501c3, and there's a certain statute within that, if it's a 501c3 organization, that the assets have to be, upon dissolution, distributed to another similar type or another 501c3 organization. Many times, if there's a dissolution for a not-for-profit organization, an orphans court or an attorney general's office will step in if in fact the bylaws have not dictated or spelled out where the dissolving assets are to be placed. The board, you members and me and myself on the boards that I serve on, have a fiduciary responsibility for governments. We talked about fiduciary responsibility a few slides ago. It is not just a legal responsibility. It is our responsibility to act in such a prudent manner that the mission of the organization is followed under the guide of the bylaws. Some governance can be assigned to other bodies, usually not. Members or the initial incorporators have certain governing rights. Boards usually elect the officers. This is detailed in the bylaws. Election of officers, acceptance of board members, board activity, operations of the organization are spelled out. There are advisory boards. They have no fiduciary authority or responsibility. They have different purposes within the organization many times, such as when there's a special fundraising or capital fundraising event, special public relations activities going on, marketing, client relations. An advisory committee would be formed usually with the input from a board member to fulfill a specific task. That task is then brought to the general board members with its activity and reports, and the board itself acts upon whatever recommendations or activities they have. A not-for-profit organization on page 13. Oh, I see we're jumping up to 16. All right. Faster. It's going a little faster than I even believe. A not-for-profit organization usually operates in a similar manner to for-profit organizations also. You can't have owners. The day-to-day operations are very similar to for-profit corporations. Management and employee structure often mirrors for-profits, and bylaws are similar too, but not always exact, because for-profit organizations, of course, within their bylaws, spell out how the profits of the organization are to be used, dividends and so forth, whereas a not-for-profit organization does not have that. The earnings, we do hope there are earnings within nonprofit organizations, but the earnings do not generate or do not inure to the board members or any specific individuals. They're used for the purpose and the mission of the organization. On page 14, there are some inherent differences between for-profit and non-for-profit organizations, and I've listed at least a few of them. Net income or loss does not flow to the members. Income is not usually taxed, as the organization is either a governmental organization or exempt from tax under IRS Code Section 501A, usually C or D. C is 501c3, D is certain other associations. Not-for-profit organizations also are usually exempt from sales tax, realty, transfer taxes, and some other income taxes. However, it's not just a tax issue, as is pointed out on page 15. There can be tax to a not-for-profit organization if, in fact, some actions of the organization are not within the scope of the mission or not under the dictates of the bylaws. If that were the case, and many times you see it if a not-for-profit organization owns rental property outside of the mission of the organization. I happen to have a client that receives royalties because they were gifted a some real estate from which to operate on, but the royalties are not part of their operations. And those royalties or some other types of income that I previously mentioned can be taxed by the Internal Revenue Service as unrelated business taxable income. And there's a separate form that would have to be filed with that. In most cases, allocation of expenses toward those revenues can be found within the operations so that the tax can be minimal or actually brought down to none. Not-for-profit organization does have to apply for tax exemption, different types of exemption status. On page 16, who oversees the financial or the finances of the agency? Well, the board itself has a fiscal responsibility. You should know, as a board, your funding sources. As a trustee or director, particularly in our case, the Agency for Community Empowerment of NEPA, your fiscal responsibility is not only to the community in general, as put forth in your bylaws and so on, but also to taxpayers, because you do receive federal and Pennsylvania funding. So you have that fiscal responsibility to oversee the financial operations, not to necessarily manage the day-to-day operations that generate those revenues or that operates the revenues and expenses, but rather to interject yourself at the end of various periods, perhaps through quarterly reports, semi-annual, or certainly at the end of the year with review of the audit and discussion of the operations, and with financial reports at your monthly board meetings that you may have questions about. Your responsibility also under fiscal is to employ a qualified and knowledgeable financial officer with the input from your chief executive officer. And we'll get to that in a minute. Your financial oversight reports to the full board. You should closely interact with your CEO and your CFO on all fiscal matters. Often there's a dual role with the CFO, or the finance committee is also called the audit committee, that meets with the auditors at the end of the year to review the audit report, financial statements, and any management reports that should be privy to the board. You review governance and management correspondence, and you are always should be alert for any red flags that might come up. Continued operational losses, employment overturn, any litigation issues that may come before you. What protections do you have as a board member against litigation that may be brought before? On page 18, we talk about that, and we point out that first of all, the existence itself of a not-for-profit corporation does limit liability in most situations. We have to remember, though, that liability does not cover does not protect against or cover criminal or willful wrongdoings by the board or any of its members. The liability coverage is within the purview of the organization itself, as if in fact you are acting in a fiduciary and fiscal responsibility manner. The law does permit for indemnification of officers and trustees. However, in all cases, an organization should obtain directors and officers liability insurance to be sure that should litigation be brought and a claim is accepted or settled, we'll say, that the insurance is coverage for the members themselves and the officers of the organization. A board should be alert, and we start on page 19 discussing that. A board sets the policies and generally should not run the actual day-to-day operations. You have oversight. A board has oversight. That oversight is exercised when you hold your meetings and discuss the operations with your chief executive officer and, in many cases, your chief financial officer. Those individuals bring the daily operations in a summary form to you that you can review and prudently act upon. The CEO or executive director, and in some cases, the chief financial officer, should be the only employees, in most cases, should be the only employees you as a board interact with. Interacting with staff or directors without going through the executive director can cause many difficulties within the chain. We'll call it the chain of command, if you will. Your responsibility is to find out that information from the chief executive officer and act upon that. Of course, there are some situations if a discrepancy can be filed with the board, or the employee has a method of reporting what they feel is something that is unjust or operations that are not within the mission, that should be available. That path should be available to them. But on a day-to-day basis, the board should not interact with the staff of the organization. You act as a board, not individually. No representation to the public should ever be had as acting for the board without full board approval. And I put this in every year, be wary of an overly dominant chair. Always question recommendations or suggestions that are brought and sort of pushed forward without open discussion and vote upon by the entire board. Never act, page 20, never act without authority. The bylaws will spell out what your authority is. It'll also spell out what should pass through committees before any actions are taken. What can be done by board committees? What can be done by an executive committee? These things are in your bylaws, and usually committee reports will be brought to the board for action, either action or ratification. The bylaws will say if a committee action can be ratified without full board approval. How does the board act? It should always be at a full general meeting. There should be where a majority of your members confer and vote, and that fulfills your fiduciary responsibility. You should know the statutes and bylaws that govern notices, and that also should be within documents that you have. Be sure that in those bylaws or your notices are publicly published, if necessary, when you're supposed to publish them, what action can your executive committee take, can they be ratified, and as Mr. Wanzak pointed out at the beginning, quorum requirements. Count to have your quorum. You can't act upon any recommendation or any action that's brought to the board unless you have a quorum. And in some situations, and the bylaws may point this out or may state it somewhere, some actions cannot be voted upon or ratified without a 2/3 or more majority. Many times that involves real estate transactions or purchase of real estate rather than just actions on a day-to-day action. Be wary of conflicts of interest. There is a question on the Internal Revenue Form 990 now, and it's been on for several years. Is there a conflict of interest disclosure statement with the board? This should be renewed annually. All board members should be fully cognizant of a conflict of interest, not just in fact that you are perhaps an owner of a business that's doing business that is interacting with the committee, but also in appearance. Okay, fact and appearance as to conflict of interest. And as I said, disclosure statements should be on file. They should be with the in the office of the executive director or the board chair. And if you do feel that you have a conflict that exists, you should recuse yourself and not vote on an issue. Executive director should be hired by and serve at the discretion of the board, and that person only answers to the board. Executive director should hire and dismiss, I should change that, fires, it's too harsh a word, but dismiss any other staff. There is latitude given to the CFO in most cases. Board usually meets with the chief executive officer or the executive director, and they come to a decision on who the chief financial officer should be if one's being hired with the best qualifications that are needed. Other than that, you hire the executive director as a board, that person manages the organization for you, not yourselves. On 23, I point out that you should know your legal requirements, be familiar with your organizational documents. Again, the mission, the bylaws, any advisory committees that may be formed, know what what the board responsibilities are, and where does your authority to act come from. You should also know, in your case particularly, and many other not-for-profit organizations that deal with elected officials, you should know who they are, what their interests are, their knowledge of your organization, and you as advocates can afford them that information in meetings with them or invite them to certain meetings, discuss what your mission is and how you're moving forward to accomplish it through your actions and under the guise of the mission statement and the bylaws that you have. What do they value? Do they value your organization sufficiently to continue to fund it in their thing? And that also interacts with your advocacy toward the organization. What do they want from your organization? And with that, I'll wind it up. I thank you for your attention. I hope I didn't take too long in your evening. I did cut out about 6 pages of this presentation from last year. That was Mark Cardoni told me to do that. He said that he was advised to do that, to keep it a little shorter than prior years, but there are certain things you should go through. I think that you should maintain a copy of this along with what other copies of documents and bylaws or mission, whatever you may have, and take a look at it once in a while, just to jog your memory as to what your responsibilities and authorities, where your authorities may lie. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you have a great next meeting, the rest of the meeting, and call me if ever you need anything or any discussion in the future.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe, for the presentation. Do I need a motion to accept this report? No.
Marilyn, I'm back, if that's okay
Thank
with
you,
you.
God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Thank you, Joe, for the presentation. And again, my apologies to everyone. Technology is our friend until it isn't. And Joe's presentation is, as long as it's documented in the minutes, we're fine with that. CSBG will see that the presentation was made. And many of the things he talked about, we will be doing as we go through the meeting tonight. So again, thank you, Joe. And if we have questions, we know where to find you.
Thanks, Bill. And
Okay.
it's good to see you finally were able to join.
I was here. It's just, like I said, technology can be our friend sometimes until it isn't.
Not always.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the May meeting. If there are no additions, corrections, or deletions, then please identify yourself. Motion to approve the minutes of the May meeting would be in order.
It's
Marilyn
Karen. I'll
Vitale.
make them. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Joanne Corbett, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the question. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Meeting minutes are approved as presented. Executive committee met in August. Basically, we sent out the information on the executive committee. The minutes were already sent out. On the question, I'll explain a little bit about what we did, but is there a motion to approve the executive committee minutes as presented?
John Grisenda makes a motion.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
Joanne Corbett.
Second.
Thank you. On the question, the executive committee basically met to review the Head Start director's position. Our director had put in for FMLA. She had some medical issues and has led to other developments. So as we go through the agenda, that will be more thoroughly explained. We've had the motion. Is there any other discussion? All in favor of the minutes being approved as presented, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Item 4 is approved. Next is item 5. Carlos, you're on.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad that Joe mentioned CFO, and I was given the title of controller. I don't think that avoids any of the responsibilities of the position, but I just find it interesting. Going through the normal tracking document that we have regarding grants that we have and expenses, I just want to highlight some of the things that were going on. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of movement as time goes by. In weatherization, there's been a couple of grants that have been closed in June, DOE and utilities. And of course, they have started again with the period of July to June 30, 2023. We have several grants that are due to close on September. The goal, of course, is to try to use as much funds as possible on the budget and leave those fully expensed if possible. On the Head Start, early Head Start, I just put here the grant that we had that was ending on January 1st, 2022, because it's important to know that we had a remainder there with respect to the budget. And although here it says that the balance is $100,000, this is for the full period, but that grant was split in two. And we're talking about trying to carry over an amount of about $640,000, which we had just meetings today trying to allocate those funds and trying to work through the carryover itself. So hopefully by Monday, we're going to file those reports. We have, of course, the new grant for the period of February 22 to January 1st, 2023 that's going on. And on the COVID grant, we are filing reports due in June. You're going to see there a big amount that's the balance, $897,000, but of course there's a big amount there allocated for the pre-K center, about $700,000, which still has not happened. On the PD in the pre-K accounts, the grants have closed on June 30. We're finishing reports and unfortunately these are grants that if we have an excess, that's not recoverable, so we cannot carry over any excess. So we'll see, but hopefully there's not going to be much left, either to return to the state or we can use in the future. We have the new grants awarded for PD and pre-K accounts. Those are new. Early CCP grant also closed on July 31st. And we have 45 days to close, issue reports, and try to do a carryover. In this case, we can carry over, so we're working actively on that. We have been awarded the new CCP grant, so things get into motion. As one grant closes, the new one appears, and a lot of documentation, reports, and work is due in trying to carry over funds if possible. If not, just submit all the reports that are due. On the CSBG front, we have a lot of grants that are due to close in September, and we're in pretty good shape in there. We expect to close and fully expense these three grants that are due in September. And then we're only going to be left with the main grant that maybe we're going to think about doing a budget modification as necessary, talking with Jim. Other things worth mentioning is we got a manufacturing grant for training, career to training of 200,000. And those are the main grants. On the private grants and other supplementary grants, we keep following or tracking the funds that we receive for food for the children, CSCFP. We know that those are based on stipend, so we spend more than what we get. But with those, that excess is covered by the federal grant for the normal grants. But we keep track of that. We keep track also as well of the federal share of the grants, the CCP and Head Start and Early Head Start. That's of key importance because the 20% match has to be met. So we have that under scrutiny. And on the rest of the grants, the good news, I don't know if the good news or bad news, but at least we closing a lot of the private grants that we got. We are allocating funds from the last report that I did in April. We have closed several grants: the PPL, PNC, City of Scranton, another grant for the Talcahuano County, and so on. So we are allocating funds as much as possible to this to try to close and fully use the resources. We have from April we got two new grants, MediHealth and Aetna. One is we got the funds up front, and the other one is reimbursables as we spend. And we fully used also $12,000 City of Scranton Area Foundation for a study that we use. So that's also closed. So the next report, I just put it here, but next report hopefully is going to be much, narrow. In other fiscal matters, we starting to work on the June 30, 2022 audit, the single audit. We're in contact with Mark Andoni and any needs that they might have. So that's gonna happen, start to happen soon in terms of information. Also we started the process of implementing a new software, which we got through a grant of CSBG. Is not here, but because it was in and out, about $100,000 that we allowed us to make all the necessary steps to implement a new fiscal software, Sage Enact, which is top of the line, and hopefully I have very good expectations. It's going to give us a lot of good results in terms of grant tracking and controlling expenses and being more efficient, paper reduction, et cetera, put it up front in the 21st century of financial reporting. That's about it on my end. If you have any questions or anything.
Are there any questions of Carlos? If not, again, the CSBG mandates and the federal government that we approve his report. So if there's a motion to approve the report as presented, it would be in order.
I so
My
moved.
motion at Kelly.
Joanne,
Whatever.
second, it's Karen.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. And just a point of order, as Joe Garvey mentioned, Carlos is one of those guys that has a direct line to our board treasurer, Eddie Karpovich. And if there is necessary need for conversation, that conversation is welcomed by the entire board and reported back to the fiscal committee and then the full board. So we try to follow Joe's recommendations as close as possible. IT report, Sarah.
Hello. I have another slideshow. I apologize, 2 in one night. But this one is going to be really quick, and it's just a basic review of our focus area 1 and 2. Oopsie, sorry. Focus area 1 and 2 reviews. So as everybody knows, we already had our focus area 1 review with the Office of Head Start. And we're going to be going into the focus area 2 review. And what this is they, we told them what we did and how we do it. Now they want us to show them. So they'll be on site. I think they'll be doing some Zoom meetings. So this kind of little slideshow that I'm showing you is kind of going to tie in the board's part with it. So what they're going to do is they're going to come in and they're going to do little data tours. They want to see, how we're using our data, what we're doing. They'll meet with myself and they'll meet with the content area managers and probably the 2 acting Head Start directors currently. And we'll give them a tour of our data, how we use it. The board part where you guys come in is they also want to talk to you. They want to know how the board uses data. They want you to kind of tell them, like, at board meetings, this is kind of how we do it. And they want to talk to you and just kind of see how, we're supporting children and families based on that data. So with the focus area 2, it is going to happen in this program year. They give us 45 days notice for when they're going to come. We did not get that notice yet, but when we do, we'll obviously let you know, and then we'll meet with you again. This is, again, just a very brief overview, and I'll put this on the board portal for you. But it's just kind of as a little map of like data, and obviously this is us up here, and this is just kind of show you like how many Head Starts are really in the US. What is data? Obviously, we all know what it is. It's information. It's how we manage it and how we use it. For Head Start, what we do is we get data in. It's kind of messy. We sort it. We have some systems that sort it. We arrange it. We present it, and then we tell our story with it, which is what we're going to be doing to the reviewers in the focus area 2. So this little picture kind of shows how it kind of comes in and how it goes out and what we do with it. So our data comes from a couple of different databases. We have our Ages and Stages database. We have Hatch. We have our online application, and we have our observations. We get it from our families, we get it from staff, and we get it from the communities when we're doing our board reports, our annual reports, our surveys, different kind of things like that. And the reasons that we do collect it is because we like to make some decisions. We like to make our decisions based on data. We like to get results. We like to have more resources and do what we can with it to better ourselves and our agency. Some different ways that we use data is on our PAR, on our monthly reports, which you guys all get, on our grants and our self-assessments, in our professional development, and in our quality improvement grants. I'm so sorry, hold on. So some of the places that we put our data, again, just so you could see a visual of it, I'm sure you see them, but we have COPA, which is our main database. We use Google Drive, we use Teaching Strategies, we use Hatch, and all of this data is the child and family data that we put in and the same data that we pull out and make those decisions from. We also use data in our program goals, which you usually get from Head Start or Jim for the agency. So we try to use those with, you'll see the dashboard report usually in the ELP one, and I'll kind of breeze through these, but we have the parents are the proactive in the children's success and language and literacy, growth and development for family. We have agency-wide goals. We have community goals for volunteering, recruitment, and collaboration. And then for our data, who looks at it? Our program staff obviously looks at it, our management staff, our federal, state, and local funders, you as the board of directors, our community, policy council, and Office of Head Start. So what can it do for our staff, and where does the board kind of fit in? So obviously we have an identified issue, we collect the data, we analyze it. Here in the red square is where the decisions or planning happen. So that's when usually we'll bring something to the board and, you know, we'll get an approval on it from the board. That's, you know, your part in it. And then, you know, we either get funds awarded or we implement a procedure. And then we have, you know, we're doing good. Just an example of how we've used data in the past. This is for Head Start, the primary language is spoken in the homes. Obviously, the two biggest ones you'll see here. Now, these are other than English. You'll see Spanish and Nepali. And what that kind of told us was, okay, you know, 60% other than English speak Spanish. So right now we have a Spanish translator. Jessica is our Spanish translator and Amrita is our Nepali. So we have them full-time on our staff. And obviously we have them there because our data told us that that's the population that we are serving. Same thing with some of our education data, like this will show us, you know, on the second one, you'll see that mathematics is a little bit lower. That's something that maybe we would get a different curriculum or kind of weave some more mathematics into our classrooms. So where do we go from here? This is, you know, we'll use our data for program advocacy, build collaborative partnerships, staff training, and we're going to make our informed decisions. And that is it. I tried to get through it quick. I am going to put it on the board portal for everyone to see. Again, this was a quick overview just to prepare you for what's coming. And, you know, when we get notification of that FA2 review, we'll kind of sit down and kind of brief you a little more on it. They might give us a little more information that we don't have right now. And as for my board report, obviously everyone has a copy of that. Some of the bigger things I'm working on is really trying to get CSBG aligned with COPA to make those quarterly reports easy to pull, and that's going really well. I anticipate it being done around November. And that is all I have, unless anyone has questions. Like I said, this will be on the board portal, as well as your sign up, and I think a little bit lower on the list, Jim we'll talk about the board portal. Jim, unless you want me to do it now. Okay, I'm done.
Sarah, thank you. Your report will be noted in the minutes, and I think your slide presentation should also be attached to the minutes for tonight. So thank you for that. Human Resource Report. Cindy.
Hello, everyone. You have my months and months of personnel reports. The last one had a lot of pending people, and they're coming in slow but sure. So next month, you're going to have a lot of more pending people. So it's going to hopefully keep going that way until we get all 54 spots filled that we have empty right now. So they're keeping me a little busy. But if anybody needs anything, you guys all know where to find me. So I'm usually on my desk. So.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. We will need a motion to approve the Human Resource Report as presented, along with the accompanying attachments.
John Grisenda makes a motion.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
John Murray will second. Okay.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes as presented. Item 8 on the agenda, early learning. Jim, do you want to introduce our speaker tonight?
Sure. As you heard earlier, our current ELP director, or Head Start director, Linda Patusta, just announced her retirement. We have 2 co-directors in place as we did during the FMLA, and that is Angela Walker, who's here with us today. She's going to be doing the presentation, and Erin Griggins is the other one. She'll be doing the presentation next month because there's also a training that we have to do on ERSI. So I'll turn it over to Erin to keep trying to speed up this meeting a little bit so we're not here until 8 o'clock at night.
Thanks, Jim. So I'm Angela Walker, one of the acting co-directors. You have received the monthly report for September. Our enrollment, we are working towards our full enrollment. Unfortunately, we are still low with that because we do have about 10 classrooms that are not yet open due to our staffing. As Cindy mentioned, we do have a lot of new staff that we have pending, so we're excited to be bringing them on board with us. We did welcome all of our staff back at our in-service on the 22nd at the in-service at the University of Scranton. We got a lot of positive feedback from that, and are continuing to work with them and get them trained to get them out in our classrooms to get centers open. So again, as a new staff are starting, we are continuing to open classrooms, and as we open those classrooms, then we'll be able to move towards that full enrollment. Just one note, our funded enrollment for Head Start on this is noted as 961. That will be decreasing because we did just receive out word that our HISAP grant was accepted, and we did decrease our number of children in our HISAP grant from 471 to 295. So that our new funded enrollment for Head Start will be 785, which will be reflected in the next report as they're making that update in the HSES system. Again, early Head Start and CCP enrollment is affected by classrooms not being open. So we are hoping that as we bring staff on board that we can move forward with that. We are in the beginning stages of our grant application for Head Start and Early Head Start for the upcoming year. As Carlos mentioned, we are working on doing the carryover for last fiscal year. And Christine will touch base about that, the carryover budget, and looking for approval to move forward with that so we can get that submitted within the next couple weeks. We also have some policies that we are looking to update, one being the masking mandate. We did receive word the other day that Head Start is lifting the masking. So we will be updating our quarantine and masking guidelines, and those will be coming through for approval as soon as those are reviewed by Policy Council. And also our flexible instruction plan that we will be again implementing this year as we continue to have to close classrooms for COVID and staffing along with that. Is there any questions on any of the reports that you have received, or any questions for me? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Angela. And is there a Policy Council representative on right now that can talk to us about Policy Council?
Yes.
I understand they're not meeting until next week, but
That's
their
correct.
recommendations will be important for our October meeting, especially with the changes in the mask mandates.
Yes, Christine is on the meeting. Again, we did just put that out to Policy Council for review, and then as soon as we do get review and recommendation from them, we will be putting that forth to the board for approval. But Christine can touch base about the information that we reviewed on the last executive committee meeting with them.
Thank you. Christine, if you would give a report, and then we can vote on items 8 and 9 on one vote.
Okay, so we did review the carryover budget and approve that. So that's been approved by executive committee. We also looked at staff increases, which that's on, should be on the Policy Council Executive Committee meeting minutes, the second document, yep. I think it's on this one. Yep, there it is. So we looked at increasing staff hourly rates for lead coaches, coordinators, lead coordinators, facility managers, assistant directors, and teachers' aides. And we did approve that. And then we also just updated some just some little things in the employee handbook, incentives and merit bonuses. And I believe In that one, we also approved resignation policies, like we updated that too. Just basically being able to use some PTO time if you were in good standing, as long as you gave adequate notice. I think it was 30 days notice. You kept your health insurance for that 30 days, just little things like that, just to make it more streamlined. But we did approve all of those things.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve items 8 and 9 on the agenda? Is there objection to it first? And if there's no objection, then I will accept the motion to approve items 8 and 9 under one motion, which would be Early Learning and Policy Council. Hearing no objection, is there a motion?
John Grisenda makes a motion.
Thank you, John.
Marilyn Vitale.
Freedom.
No.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
July 29th, my son had 3 hours in his backup.
Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes as presented. And I would just like to say to Angela and Christine, please, if there's no objection from the full board, that we highly endorse the very thorough review of the mask policy. It would help us get back together as a full board and be able to meet in person, hopefully in the near future. So thank you for that. Item 10 on the agenda, weatherization. Greg.
Sorry about that, guys. I was just busy doing work here and realized I heard my name. I feel a little left out. I don't have a slideshow, but let me give you the basics of what's been going on over the summer. Ultimately, we ended up closing out our DOE contract, which was the end of the 5-year contract. So that precipitates a new 5-year contract. So we got our annual DOE allocation. And what'll be coming on top of that will be the Biden Build Back Better money. So we're going to figure that out, probably end up moving. We were 1 crew. We're probably going to end up moving to 2 crews. We're on our way to that now, setting up crew chiefs and people in place. So we're ready to roll once that money hits. Finishing up the LIHEAP standard weatherization program, the clean and tune program. And you guys will notice on the report that we had a cooling program. I think state had money left over, didn't know what to do with it, wanted to do a cooling program. We jumped on board with that. Try to knock out as many units as we possibly could, given the fact that it was a new program and just trying to figure out the whole parameters of it. But we did, the best we can. New applications end at the end of August and installs can go to the end of this month. But after this month, that's over, along with clean and tune and the deferral and standard weatherization. But we've had a busy summer and I don't know, what it's been like here in the previous years, but it seemed to me we've put up some big numbers as far as job growth and jobs happening and getting grant money spent. So a lot of that stuff will pick up, that LIHEAP numbers, those will pick up as the new year goes along. October 1st will be that. Also gearing up for the crisis season as well. We finished that off in the summer, finished invoicing on that. And again, this year was a little tricky because they just threw out ARPA money and it was up to us to figure it out. It was up to us to budget modification, budget mod money in, budget mod money out, decide what to put where and who. And again, we've done quite a lot with that and we'll probably make off our final budget mod this week to finish that pot of money up. And then at that point, we're going to move on to the new programs. Like I said, LIHEAP starting October 1st and the DOE has already started. We've been finishing up weatherization with LIHEAP and P&G, and we're going to move from there. Now, the UGI program, CPG, has been, we fulfilled that contract. They're allowing us to continue to go if we pick any more up there. The electric contract, we're moving on that, and I feel very positive that we're going to actually fulfill that contract and get that thing moved out. The P&G contract, we continue to work that. We run into some deferrals and some issues, but I've been talking to UGI and we have some ideas on that. Just spoke to them about hosting an event. They're willing to come quarterly I know we did a senior fair last couple of days ago. Cindy Johnson said there was like 600 people, and I know UGI will come in, do the advertising for that, set up a booth, and actually get people signed up, both for the CAP program and for weatherization through that program. So I think we can utilize that. And also just picked up Lackawanna County Housing Authority, and I think we're gonna possibly be ready to roll and do a ton of units there. Looking at one plaza that's got 50 units, and they're saying, you know, let's come on in and let's get going. So hopefully we're going to be extremely busy, and have a lot of work to do. CAP numbers were good. They continue to move over the summer a little bit, trending in a flat to up direction from the spring when they were a little down, but so things are moving steadily there. And as far as SLRDC goes, we continue to work. We're getting really close to the units as far as getting them up and getting them in. North Main Avenue is getting awfully close. I know Jim's looking at October 1 date. I don't know about that, but we'll be close. We just have a couple of dots on the I and cross the T's, and we can get that property going. And Gray Street is just about there, where we just have a couple of small odds and ends, and we can start using that for rentals out. You also probably see on there Veterans Home. We picked up a home that we want to use for veterans housing. We're just in the process of getting a roof done on that. There was some repair work that needed to be done, but the foundation looked pretty good, actually. The basement was dry, and I think we can, turn that into something actually down the road. So we just got some bids, and we have a gentleman who's done the repair work and is now moving to do the formal roof closure and gutter work on there. So that's my quick and painless presentation.
Very good, buddy. Very good.
Yes.
Thank you, Greg. Very excellent work.
Thank you. Any
You
questions?
guys,
Yes, John Grisenda, how's our relationship with Johnson College going?
It was going good. They did what they did. At this point, I don't think we really needed them, John. No, I came on board on SLRDC a little late, so kind of over the summer, and so I'm still sort of feeling my way on top of everything else. So I'm trying to get everybody firm, and I don't think we really needed their services come the fall. So I think, we'll re-examine what we can use them for in the spring so we can continue that relationship,
Thank you.
any other questions or comments? Thank you, Greg. Your report was very well presented.
Thank you.
PFAB. Rosie.
Hi.
Hi, Rosie.
So as you guys can see, year to date, we have served 15,394 commodities and 40,275 individuals since January till now. We are currently waiting on reimbursements for 3 of the quarters, which should be coming in shortly. And we've serviced Friends of the Poor, Carbondale Catholic Social Services, North Pocono, Salvation Army. And that's it for now.
Okay.
Thanks, Rosie.
Questions of Rosie? Thank you. Jim, I'm going to let you run through the rest of the agenda almost. So the floor is yours.
Thanks, Bill. As you can see, our workforce initiative program, which is located in the mall, has been pretty busy. Our first chart here shows you how many people we've seen for background checks at the state and federal level, with the state being 466 and federal being 295 just in the month of October. So we are surpassing, or going to meet our goals there. And you can see why we do that is because even though we're seeing all those people, we're still only projecting of an income of around $30,000. So the program never pays for itself. It's something that we do to provide a service to the community. And I'm constantly reaching out to those institutions that take advantage of the service to see if they can help us just try to cover the cost to break even. So what you're seeing is we changed this program around a little bit with the data as we keep progressing to try to make it more clear. And workforce has been going great. It's, we've already had 107 people, surpassed our goal of 30. We've have 37 people out of the 70 obtained jobs. 20 out of 45 have obtained a living wage of $15 or more. 37 out of 70 have gotten increased benefits, and 8 people have gotten a credential. Our Rise and Ride program has been doing really well. It's been taking off. We have 57 people out of 90. Horizon Medical, 15 out of 50. Our veterans, we've had 4 veterans take advantage of that. And we also are distributing bus passes as well as we work with Colts, and we're constantly looking at trying to keep working with Colts to develop a better relationship to service those areas outside of Colts' ridership. And that's something that I think you're going to see progressing as the year goes on to 2023. The vehicle assistance program is finished. The same with the city trash assistance, the utility assistance, and the rental assistance. They've all closed out a month early with the programs. It's something the vehicle assistance was so popular, we're still getting emails on that, but we're at the point of having to raise some money to look at a 2023 date on that. And I'll keep you going. I'll keep you informed of that. The digital literacy grant, we got extended to the end of December, and that is right on target to being closed out. And then we'll be starting in November, really getting ready for that manufacturing grant that you heard about earlier on in the fiscal report. So we're setting all those up, and it looks like it's going to be a very busy end of 2022 and 2023 for this program. Moving on, I'm going to move on to the executive director's report. So really what you're seeing is some things here. Again, we're doing this because these are requirements that we have to meet with CSBG. So I apologize what happened to do some of this, as some of you know, but we have to do this every so many years to make sure we have the training. But one of the first thing is our board portal, right? Hopefully all of you are going to the board portal. You're checking in on the board portal. You're taking the necessary trainings that are required from us. You heard about with our auditors today talking about certain things that need to be done. And one of those is the bylaws, to go on to take a look at the bylaws on there, to click what you're doing. Our bylaws are very important. That's the heartbeat of the organization. That's what we go by. You have to sign off on that link, right? So you need to go in, you have to sign off on these mandatory signatures. I reviewed it. Those of you today that just sat down and went through the board fiscal oversight, you were on that. So you can sign off that you took it. You just sat through it. So please go on and sign off. The conflict of interest sign off is the same thing that we talked about, is just to go on, look at the conflict of interest, acknowledge it, sign it off. We put so many things on our board portal that are easy for you just to click on, sign off, without us having to email you, have come into the office doing any of that anymore. So please visit this site, walk through these sign-offs, make sure you do it. We keep track of it on our end to see who's doing who's doing what. These are also where you'll find our 990s, our annual reports, our meeting schedules. So everything's here into this board portal. So the conflict of interest, again, is there. Sarah is going to be sending out a link again to each individual board member for you to turn around and please sign off on that, because that's a required document every year. Now, you've heard Christine actually did a great job of summarizing the employee manual red line revised that we did, and that was just really the incentives, the resignation of the employment, the wage increases. The financial incentives gives us now the right to provide that up to twice a year, up to $1,800 per incentive. You heard her talk about, if people give us the proper resignation notice, that we will continue to carry their health care to the end of the month. That was something that we were having people just not give us any notice at all and wanting to keep healthcare. So we didn't think that was right. So this was something that we did move forward with as the executive committee turned around and signed off on. So we did do a CSBG 723 budget modification that will be getting closed out at the end of the month in 723 and 195. We do it we call it 723 because the grant was 723,000. 195 was for 195,000. So we did budget modifications to close out some of those line items that are all going to be closing out at the end of September. So our e-signature resolution was some of the stuff that the state required, that the board gave me approval of, to be able to sign the documents online as the state is moving all of their documents from no more handwritten signatures to being able to log in and be able to sign. So what I am going to need is an approval for all of these that I just went over. And I'll need a second, and I'll be able to answer any questions as well.
So we'll call for a
Karen,
motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Karen. We'll figure you can make the motion. Thank you. Is there a second?
Joanne Corbett, I'll second.
Thank you.
Joanne.
Joanne, on
Yep.
the question? Discussion?
Aye.
Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes as presented. Thank you all. Jim?
One of the other things that I am going to need on here that's not on here is that we would like to purchase a vacant property off of the land bank that's next to the pre-K center. So we would like to do that. As you know, the pre-K center is located in North Scranton. We're constantly looking for properties around there. This will help us with parking in the future. So if we can purchase that for $100, all I need is an approval to move ahead with, to be able to purchase that.
Carolyn Vitale, I approve the motion.
We have a motion to move ahead on, and a second to move ahead on the purchase of that property.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the question?
Did you say
All
a
in
dollar?
fa-
I'm $100.
No, $100, Karen,
Oh, okay.
through the land bank.
Is that normal?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
John Murray, is there, John, any comment?
No, I'm just glad we're purchasing a property for $100.
Okay, thank you.
What does it end up, like, is there a value to it? Like when, even though you only pay 100, is there a bigger value to the property?
Well, really for us, it comes down to the purpose. It's been sitting there forever. Like, I can't tell you how long it's been in the repository, and then they moved it to the land bank for us to be able to purchase it. But nobody just wants that property. And for us, the more properties that we can acquire next to the pre-K center at a reasonable rate only helps us, with our mission of moving forward to developing more parking, more things. Eventually our board meetings are going to move over to there, everything else. So
Was that the property right next door, Jim? That
In the-
White House next?
in the alleyway,
Oh, behind it.
alleyway, it's a vacant lot. There's nothing there. We're gonna have to clear some
Oh,
trees,
that's where the fire was. Yeah, okay.
possibly.
Well, there was a house there that burned. I think it's an empty lot now, yeah. Good idea, good.
This makes sense.
Hey.
Any
can't
other
beat the price.
discussion?
Buy two.
I think Karen wanted to buy it.
I have enough property. If there's grass, I don't want it.
As opportunities present itself over there, I will be coming, for your approval as well, as we're just keeping an eye out.
All right, it's time to call the question if there's no objection. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Jim, you have the blessing of the board to move ahead with the land bank.
The other
Anything else?
The other business I think we just want to talk about, Billy and I talked about this today, and looking at the December board meeting, we usually do on that third Tuesday of the 20th. We talked about it today, Bill and I. Would like to move it to that Thursday, if the board is in Thursday, December 15th, to the full person dinner meeting, which we're not sure where it's going to be at, but it'll be at some area restaurant to have that meeting. If everybody's okay with us looking, I would like to proceed with that. If you're okay with that, unless you want to keep it on that Tuesday of December 20th, but we thought maybe having something in person that close to Christmas might worry some people.
So we'll look into that and report back at the next board meeting.
Yeah, 15 sounds good.
And
20 is close to Christmas, yeah.
yep, that was our feeling also. And I think on the Head Start, I think we need also just a little bit on the Head Start under other business. Linda Miss Pratisto applied for FMLA, which was granted. We wished her a healthy recovery. toward the end of that, she made it known that she was going to take retirement, and she's put her papers in. So she is officially out of the office and will be on the payroll for an additional month as a consultant. So we wish her a long and healthy retirement, which starts the process of hiring or deciding what to do with the Head Start directorship. We have two very capable people, Angela Walker and Aaron Griggetts, as our acting directors. Personnel Committee will have to get together with representation from the Policy Council, and also we'll have to notify the Office of Head Start. So there's a lot of steps until there's a new director hired. In the meantime, we're in the hands of two very capable people, and I'd like to thank, and be in the minutes, thanking Angela and Aaron for stepping up and really going above and beyond at this point. So thank you, ladies, Miss Angela Walker and Miss Aaron Griffiths, for what you do for the agency. Other business to come before us? Hearing none, our next regular board meeting will be Tuesday, October 18th, 6 p.m., probably on Zoom. But we'll work on that. And if there's nothing else, motion for adjournment is in order.
So moved.
Thank you.
I second
Thank you.
it.
Almost Mr. Ames.
Second. I
We are,
second.
no objection to the motion. We are adjourned until October, and let's call for special business. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.